This just in, Amadeus is at the airport on his way home from Vegas, so he will join us tomorrow.
All right.
I'm Jim. He's Sean. And it's Monday. And please raise your hand if you have an intact NCAA college basketball bracket.
I still have my national champion.
Okay. Still have a national champion going.
I actually still, and I'm still alive. And there's only, I think there's 50 people that started in the knockout pool. And I'm one of 5 left. So
there you go.
Yeah. Thursday's going to be tough, though.
Yeah.
Thursday's going to be tough because those games are tight. I mean, I think right now, let me take a look at this for Thursday. I'm probably either leaning UConn. I want to go with, I don't want to use Tennessee because now Tennessee's probably favored to come out of that. I think come out of that. So I don't mind Kansas State. I can't believe they're getting points, but I'll probably either use UConn or Tennessee. But once again, I want to save Tennessee for Sunday or for Saturday. So you got to. I think Saturday you have to pick maybe both games. So I got to be a little strategic here.
Yeah, the late game on Thursday, Gonzaga UCLA. That's going to be it.
To me, I said this. I'll say this again today on when I go on and buy the book. But I think that's the national championship game. I think the winner of that game wins the title. That's just what I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you.
I think that's really, you could argue, Alabama, maybe Houston, but they're banged up. But to me, Gonzaga and UCLA are two of the 4 best teams left. So. I know people will say Texas, but I'm not sure Texas beats Xavier still.
No. The other thing on the Friday game, Alabama's good. San Diego State's they
play defense. That's the thing. I mean, if they play defense like they did the other day, Alabama could be in trouble. But it's pretty interesting, the whole thing right now. So
I think the Creighton Princeton's a toss-up to me.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Crazy.
I mean, I think the whole thing about this is, I think I said this, it's a little harsh, but these teams all stink. Like none of them are any, like there's no good teams. They're all the same.
Well, the parity's there. Yeah.
The parity is there. And, I was thinking about this today, from 10 years ago, when I started covering high school basketball. I mean, the level of play is just, I think the fundamentals are going away. I mean, you see the games, they don't they take bad shots. They don't, they settle for threes. It's not the same.
Nobody tries to work the ball inside.
Yeah, it's not the same game as it was, 20 years ago or 15 years. It's just the game is changing and it's not
changing for the better.
Yeah, it's, I think you hear people saying that a lot about a lot of sports. I think football, NFL, I think that's changed for the better. First of all, the guys are getting bigger and stronger every year, so the play is getting better. But, the game is changing. It's adapting. It's, throwing and points and stuff like that. I think the game has gotten better. But I don't know if you can say that about baseball. You 100% you can't. I mean it's just just home runs and strikeouts and stuff. Although they're saying maybe that's changing the time of the games and stolen bases. Maybe they'll swing back towards that. It's all part of the game. The strategy part of the game. I mean, I think that's kind of.
We'll see how the shift. Not allowing the shift anymore.
The strategy part of the game has started to deteriorate because, you don't have, there's the DH and you don't have this stuff. And I just think some of the people that have been watching the game for a long time and that, like it because it's strategy, I'm a chess.
But even that's getting taken out of it.
Yeah. So that's changing. Basketball is you talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just, anybody from 70 years old, 60, 50, 40. You talk to anybody all the way down, and they'll say the same thing. It's not the same. The games, the games in the toilet, but it's makes for interesting, television and stuff. So,
Well, at the risk of offending people,
yep.
I need to ask you a question.
Okay.
And that question is, there's a soccer match going to be played today. And the soccer team sounds to me like a beer league softball team. Newell's Old Boys in Argentina is playing San Lorenzo.
That's Messi's team.
Who is Newell's Old?
That's where Messi came from.
Okay, enlighten me.
Yeah, that's Messi's. That's Messi's team. So I didn't realize they're playing
5:30 today on Paramount Plus.
Everyone is basically done. They're shut down for this for the international break.
Right.
So Newell's Old Boys is where Messi came from.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 28 teams right now in that first division, which is ridiculous.
And Newell's Old Boys is a sponsor or what?
That's the name of the team.
Yeah, I know. It's just so.
And I don't
know the origin of it, but it doesn't matter. I was just curious.
It's
It was kind of like Chico's Bail Bonds is playing this afternoon against San Lorenzo.
refers to the former pupils of a school. In fact, the players of the first team were graduates of the school Isaac Newell had established, the Colegio Comercial Anglicano Argentino, so the English American school. So 1903, Claudio Newell, one of the founding members, he called all his teachers, pupils, and alumni of the school his father established to sign the active foundation for the club.
Okay. So there's a history there.
So it's named after Claudio Newell. So the guy named it after his dad's, Newell's Old Boys, the pupils and stuff like that. So they called all the old boys from before. And
this is where Messi came up.
Yeah. Yep. This is where Messi came from. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. They're also called. Is all from. Newell's Old Boys often referred to as the Leprosos, the lepers. The club got its name, the Lepers, after playing a charity match for a leprosy clinic in the 1920s.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, yeah, look, it's interesting. South American, specifically Argentinian soccer right now is pretty good. Estadio Marcelo Bielsa. Yeah. River Plate. River Plate's been a real Defensa y Justica. They've won a title. Lannis, Foxy could probably tell you a little more. I mean, I know some of these teams, Boca Juniors, obviously, but these teams have really done well in the South American competitions. And right now, I mean, you're into 7-8 matches into the season now, and at the top of the table, there's 7 teams within 5 points. So it's pretty competitive league. So, but Foxy, we're just talking about why is Argentina playing today? Why are there 3 matches today? Newell's Old Boys, San Lorenzo, Hurricane, Rosario, Lannis, and why are they actually playing today? Because there's an international break, and there's this is the only league playing basically. So. Dynamo Dresden is playing Ingolstadt right now in the 3 Liga in Germany, but and Miranda's in Eibar. But yeah, these are one of these days, today and tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow's atrocious. There's some League 1 action and League 2 action, and UEFA Women's Champions League. There's actually they named the stadium after the ex-league manager what he did for the club in the early 90s. Yep. There's a Premier Division game tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, so that's interesting. And then there's the national team. The national games start on Wednesday, the African Cup of Nations qualifications. So not a lot of action going on today, but those games will be interesting.
There's a U.S. Open Cup on Wednesday.
Yeah, I remember last year I did some that's when I really started doing the live tweeting for the club because for RMYFC, who's not a team anymore. But they that was the first round. Foxy, South American, all who play games. Sarah Portina is also playing in Paraguay. Yeah, seems like it. Just waiting here to see how many games Alexander Mitrovic is going to get suspended for his vicious assault on the referee yesterday. Should be there's been calls in England for him to be suspended for 10 games and 6 months. And the something I read today about the VAR is causing the issues with VAR is causing this stuff to boil over. But you still, once again, you can't touch a ref. You can't push and shove a referee. You can't put your hands on him. Like you can't try to act aggressive towards him and get in his face and push him and shove him and stuff like this. So we'll see. But between the Premier League, the FA Cup, the La Liga, which is now over, the Serie A, which is now over. They're saying that Mitrovic assaulted him. They could be for assault, and Bruno Fernandes just pushed the guy in the back, saying "good job." So nothing will happen with Bruno there.
Yeah, great job.
And PSG's a mess.
Yeah,
there's a lot of. PSG is going to win that league, but they're 7 points clear, but they're a mess. That team will implode. We just need Qatar to buy Manchester United and then take Mbappe and stuff. But they're a mess. There's a lot of stuff that came out of yesterday. Obviously huge basketball day over the weekend, or 2 days over the weekend. I don't know where you want to start.
Wherever you go for it. I can go either way.
I have the soccer pulled up. I mean, the FA Cup semifinals now. It's going to be Sheffield United, who beat Blackburn Rovers 3-2 yesterday. Fantastic game between two teams, and one team in the automatic promotion places to come back to the Premier League, and one team in the playoffs. Really, really good game. Blackburn was winning 2-1, and the coach changed it, took players off in the 80th minute. It ended up costing his team the game. They gave up 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. Really should have won the game, to be honest. Brighton smoked Grimsby Town. They were minus 2,000. You knew that was coming. They're really, really good. Sheffield United's going to play Manchester City, won 6-0 on Saturday. But Sheffield United, 2 of their best players can't. The guy that scored the winning goal can't play because they're on loan. So Manchester City will walk to the final. And then, of course, Manchester United beat Fulham 3-1. It was 1-0. Penalty incident. In which the team got 3 red cards on the same VAR. The coach got a red card. The player got a red card for denial of a goal scoring chance, which clearly was a red card. And then Mitrovic got a red card for pushing the ref. And then Manchester United scored about a minute after that. They scored the penalty. They scored a minute after that, and then they scored in the 96th minute. So that's good. So Manchester United will play Brighton on the 23rd of April. That game has to be the Sunday game because they're playing in Seville on Thursday in the Europa League quarterfinals, second leg. Sheffield United will play Manchester City on the game on the 22nd, and City will be playing in Munich. I believe it's on the 19th, a Wednesday. So they'll both have 3 days rest. That's a tough, City could put their third team out and beat Sheffield United, so that's not a really big deal. Barcelona, Real Madrid. Real Madrid looked like they scored the winner there in the 83rd minute. VAR took a look and somebody's shoulder was offsides, which is dodgy to begin with because, you're not really supposed to be able to score a goal with your shoulder, but whatever. They say you could score a goal with your shoulder, but then if you score a goal with your shoulder, they don't allow it. And then Barcelona scored in injury time, so that league's over. They're up by 12 points now. Madrid is done. Barcelona will win the title. So congratulations to them. Napoli won 4-0 yesterday. I think Osimhen had a couple goals. Vicha had a goal. Napoli is up by 19 points with 33 points left to play for. So that league is over. Inter's falling apart. AC Milan's falling apart. Juventus right now is only 6 points back of fifth. Barca ref scandal is now a legal case. Yeah, it's a mess, Foxy. It's a mess. They're documented cases of bribes. I mean, it's a mess. Bill, Miami +7 and the money line next to upset Houston. I'm gonna wait to see if Houston's a little healthy, but yeah, the +7 I think looks pretty decent. Bill, I think we're gonna get to that in like 1 second. Just want to finish this here. PSG lost 3. Bayern Munich lost 2-1. Borussia Dortmund's actually in first place now, which is crazy. Bayern Munich, the longer they go in the Champions League, the tougher it's going to be. I mean, I watched that game. I mean, it was the same time as United game. I had my kind of like side eye on it. They didn't play great. I think he's going to be gone. The coach, Nagelsmann, if they don't win the league, obviously they don't win a league, guys should be fired anyway. Because anybody put my chickens out there and coaching that team and could win that title. So that's something to watch. That league is crazy. This is all now, at the break. And PSG lost 2-0 yesterday. And Reims finally lost. Will Still finally got a loss in his 19th try. The Reims story still playing well. They're still in for Europe. But, PSG is 7 clear. So they'll win the league over Marseille. But once again, that whole league is going to implode. And Arsenal is 8 clear now with a game in hand of Manchester City. Every time I look at those futures, right now Arsenal's -167. Manchester City is +140. I have Arsenal at +225 to win the league. So, I may end up throwing a couple bucks on Manchester City at +140 because I think they can still win it. Obviously, they play Arsenal and they're playing really well. So, that's the world of soccer there. So we can kind of start to look at basketball here.
Okay, we can go to the final Sweet 16, and one of the things that I think is important about that is that we've got a lot of teams that are tournament tested in there. Teams that have played in the tournament before. And that definitely, when you get to the round of 16, that definitely helps. It's certainly the blue bloods that are there, the Gonzagas, the UCLAs, the Kansases. I mean, those kind of teams all know what it's like to be there.
Yeah, I think this, there's some interesting games, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
The first game, Michigan State and Kansas State. I was talking to my buddy Mark Egel, and it's interesting because I think Gonzaga. I pick Gonzaga, and it's one of these things where the whole Gonzaga, preseason was number 2, and then they lost early, and everyone kind of forgot about them. And now, they maybe took all the pressure up because they've been number 1 in other years with better teams and blew it. They didn't get to a Final Four, and they lost 2 finals. If you get to a final and you lose, I don't think that's kind of blowing it.
No.
Especially the North Carolina game. North Carolina, they lost in the final the year before, and they just, it was a tie game with minutes to go, and North Carolina just ended up, the final minute 7-0, and they just outplayed them in the final minute. But Michigan State, no one thought they were going to do anything.
Well, Tom Izzo is, he's been there, done that a number of times.
Yeah.
So, having your coach there is not a bad thing.
Foxy talking about VAR, that I think we can maybe have that discussion this week with these qualifiers. The VAR in England is not working. It's clearly not working, Foxy. They don't, I think they need to change it. So we'll have to see. But this Kansas State team is good. I guess everyone all of a sudden now thinks Michigan State's the best team ever, and they're gonna win. And but the regular season, they're 21-12. They lost a lot of games. They lost a lot of games down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I do like this Kansas State team.
They're scrappy. I mean, they're a lot of they're I don't know. Some of those, I want to call it chaos ball. What I'm saying is, they like they're always scrambling and running around. It's like FDU, right? The team from Jersey there. The kids were all they were pesky. They were running and driving you nuts. And Kansas State plays that kind of almost chaotic, brand of basketball.
Yeah, and the second game, Arkansas, UConn. UConn early in the season. This is great. Could have been the greatest team. I'm talking about the greatest team ever, 15-0. This is going to be. A lot of people thought Arkansas was going to be pretty good this year. Interstellar Devil, Chelsea, Real Madrid. Madrid is better, aren't they? I think because let me look at this. I think it's the the first leg is in Madrid. Maybe Chelsea has a little bit of a chance, obviously a repay. Bill thinks Real Madrid all day. I think Madrid probably. I think Madrid could be a rematch of last year's quarterfinals. Madrid had to play Chelsea, and then they had to play Manchester City. Napoli on the other side of the bracket is going to the final. Nobody's beating Napoli on that side. Benfica might give them a little. If it's Benfica and Napoli, I do. I think they're in a little bit. I kind of informed. They're kind of informed, but you look and they're 10th in the Premier League, and they haven't been great, have they? They drew on the weekend again. Everton, they're a weird team. They could beat them. Look, I nearly won my. Foxy said he nearly won his NCAA bet on the weekend. Gonzaga over cost me. I think 2 more points were needed. Always comes down to 1 or 2 points. Yeah, Bill or Foxy, that's right. It always does. But Interstellar Devil there, I think. That tie. I think Napoli clearly wins. I think Benfica and Inter could be interesting. But both teams. Inter's not great form, are they? Benfica's flying. I do like Benfica. I think that's a really, really interesting tie. Real Madrid, Chelsea, and City, Bayern. There's really, three of the four ties here could be interesting, and then the fourth one is two Italian teams, so you never know. So, I think it's just, obviously it's the same teams here with Chelsea and Real Madrid in it, but like, the other ones are different, so you get different matchups. City is the favorite, but once again, like until they do it, I think you got to look at them with some skepticism. But the Florida Atlantic Tennessee game, they got some injuries. Tennessee really just bullied Luke.
That big kid setter for Florida Atlantic, he really did. He really didn't exert himself until late in the game.
The thing is too. Tennessee starts four guys 6'6" or taller, and FAU is one of the smallest teams in the country. They're probably the smallest team left now that FDU is out. So I just think Tennessee's probably a little bit too good for FAU. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, but of all the teams, maybe I have the most confidence that Tennessee could cover there. Chelsea drawing at home to Everton, but Chelsea do have experience eliminating Real Madrid in Champions League a minute away from knocking them out that last season too. Yeah, I think I just a
couple of Chelsea fans here.
Their forms, you watch them playing, you're just like, I don't understand how they're drawing all these games. Like, they should be better than they are. Really, I mean, their squad's not terrible, but they,
Well, you've said a number of times they've underachieved.
This is just the Premier League form. Since January 21st, Liverpool, Chelsea 0-0, Chelsea, Fulham 0-0, West Ham, Chelsea 1-1, Chelsea, Southampton 1-0, Spurs 2-0 over Chelsea, Chelsea 1-0 over Leeds. Chelsea won 3-1 over Leicester. That was a good game. And then the 2-2 draw. They're not playing like they played a rate, against Borussia Dortmund, who's leading the Bundesliga. But I'm telling you, that's not like super impressive right now. So, but I just don't know. I mean, Real Madrid, they played well at times yesterday, and but they haven't played well this year either. To be honest, they have a lot of talent, but the only thing to me is like both these teams right now are like scrapping and clawing to get something to get their season. Like this Chelsea season's been a disaster. I mean, let's be honest here. They're in 10th place, and they fired Tuchel, who won them a Champions League. They brought Grant Potter in, and he's been kind of clueless, and they just Todd Bowley's just throwing money around it. I saw Todd Bowley across the street because my 15-year-old neighbor was doing some keepy uppies outside, and now he wants to sign him for Chelsea. He just throws money around at everybody. So, but and Madrid needs to win. Madrid needs to do something here. I think he's in trouble there. The coach could go, and you got Zidane waiting in the wings, or Tuchel waiting in the wings. Somebody, and that team obviously is going to spend in the summers. So, but it's interesting. So there's a lot of that. So and then obviously the last game. So Tennessee, I think I have the most confidence in covering the spread in that game on that Thursday. Gonzaga, UCLA. Look, I have no idea.
That's a coin toss there.
It's a coin toss. Everybody's picking UCLA in that game. It's.
Well, I mean, remember that UCLA's missing a big guy.
Yeah, so it's a rematch.
If Drew Timme can play the way he plays,
Remember the 2021 Final Four game that UCLA took. They were the 11th seed and got to the Final Four and took that game. It was like 94-91 in overtime. It's crazy game. I mean, these two teams are really good. I just have a feeling Gonzaga is going to find a way to win. But, once again, before the tournament started and before the seeds were out, my two picks to win the national title were UCLA and Gonzaga, and then they put them in the same side of the bracket. So, they not even and they're playing in a Sweet 16, which kind of sucks because it could be, this could be a Final Four game once again. So, should be the best game of the night.
I think you mentioned when we were talking early. I agree with you. I mean, this frankly could be the national championship game.
Yeah, yep, I think so. The Friday games, the early tip off, 6:30 Eastern. You don't usually get that early tip there. Usually not till 7. 3:30 out west.
Especially for two teams that are from out west.
Fastest. Alabama one of the fastest teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
San Diego State's one of the slowest teams in the country. San Diego State really just stifled Furman in that game. Furman, they could shoot threes, but they're terrible in that game. I just, I don't know if San Diego State's going to be able to score enough points to stick with Alabama. I mean, if Alabama scores like 70, 75 points, you think they win, probably pretty easily. Alabama's, Alabama could win the national title. They might be the best team left. I don't think, you can make a lot of arguments against that. They are the number 1 seed. The second game is Miami and Houston. They put the 2 1s in the early games, which, meh. But maybe they should have not done that. But Houston still, I don't know how healthy they are. Isaiah Wong is really good from Miami. I don't see a lot of people saying Miami can win this game. But, maybe they could keep it close. Houston's really good. I'd probably say Houston. I know Bill likes Miami plus the 7 and the money line upset. If you're gonna take a shot, maybe that's probably the one to do. Just because I'm not sure, about Miami. I'm not sure about Houston, but we'll kind of see.
Well, Houston played in the American, and the challenges there is, it wasn't the kind of conference that, that others were. It wasn't a deep conference, but still, to win as many games as they did, you got to do something right.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be close to healthy, so I would probably side with Houston winning the game, but I would maybe say Bills plus 7 isn't a terrible bet there.
Yeah.
Creighton, I have no idea. I mean, Creighton should. They remember before the year they were a top 10 team,
right?
And they were, then all of a sudden they're 9-8, and they now
they've been rounding back into form though.
Now they're back into form here. I just, I don't think it's. I
don't like the game. If I were betting, I would never.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's going to be close, to be honest. But I thought that last time, Creighton's 10. That's pretty high.
It's a 10-point.
Yeah, it's about 10. That's a lot of points, I think. Creighton's very good. I mean, Creighton could win by 20.
Right, but Princeton has been able to keep some pretty darn good teams close and beat them.
Yeah, yep. And then once again, the last game of the night, a 2-3 game is the marquee game.
Right.
Probably why, that's probably why they put them there.
Mhm.
Texas and Xavier, they're really, really both very, very good teams, and this should be, I think.
Well, it's kind of a contrast in styles. Texas plays, more of a. They're not as run and gun as Xavier are. They're a little more methodical. I don't know what that. Neither of those. I guess the most important thing is neither of those teams live and die by the three. They can play inside basketball.
Yeah, I think maybe the difference might be, if you, Bill, I don't know about that. They got the greatest coach in the world with the greatest name in the world.
Who's the coach of Xavier?
Sean Miller.
Oh, okay. I should have known.
By
the way,
I think they could win this game, but their defense is a little suspect. Like I see some people picking Texas, and I see a couple people taking Xavier. This should be the best game of the night, just like the night before. The late game should be the best game of the night.
Yeah, Mike Bray, who for many, many years was the head basketball coach at Notre Dame, has accepted the University of South Florida job.
Wow. And Ed Cooley's going to Georgetown.
Really?
Leaving Providence to go to Georgetown, yes.
That's I hope that he can resurrect that once fantastic program that Georgetown had.
I mean, when I was obviously, North, they beat us, and I was at the game when they beat us in the Elite Eight in 2007 at the Meadowlands. But we beat them in '82 to win the title.
Right.
When I was in college, Georgetown was. I'm a North Carolina guy, but I used to go to visit Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Allen Iverson's Mercedes parked on. He would just park on campus. He wouldn't even care. That's actually why he left after his sophomore year, because they were going to start investigating him. But, Georgetown was, Iverson was the guy, man. Like, in Georgetown, like, I remember watching them play in
crossover dribble to break your ankle.
Yeah. Georgetown. I mean, they got this really sweet colors, the gray and the blue, the navy blue. I've always,
Big John.
It's a, if you want to talk about school, like, there isn't a better school in the country that isn't an Ivy League school. And you could argue Georgetown is just as good as Cornell or Brown or something like this. It's an amazing school. It's right in the middle of Georgetown. I mean, if you've never been to Washington, you gotta check out, some of the stuff. It's a great,
My wife was the head of the why am I blanking on? The head of the residence training program at Georgetown University Hospital.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And Washington Medical Center. So
our
office was on campus, and it was fun. You know who used to go and watch Georgetown practice not every day, but most days, was Red Auerbach.
Wow.
And I know this because I used to live in North Georgetown, up by Cathedral. If you've been in DC, the National Cathedral is not that far from Georgetown, unless you're trying to drive there during rush hour. It's like a mile and a half. It takes you 6 days to get there, but it can be. You're better off just leaving the car and walking. But I went one day, and there was this nondescript, door between my dentist's office and Sotheby's real estate in a professional building. And I went by, and it just, I looked up at the sign on the nondescript door, and it just said Red Auerbach. Could it be the guy who, so when I go out in the parking structure, there parked is a gold Mercedes. And all it said on the back in the license plate was DC Celtics. And so I'm thinking, okay. So I went to practice one day, and there was Red Auerbach sitting up in the stands. He had coached John Thompson. John played for him at the Celtics, and there was he was watching and giving notes to Big John. But when Big John left, man, that program cratered. And I thought maybe Patrick Ewing would have some success there, but he never got anything going. Matter of fact,
yeah, they're terrible.
A lot of kids that he recruited went to the portal 10 minutes after he recruited them. So it was not, John's son tried, John Thompson III. It didn't seem that they could find somebody who could do it. So my hope is that because that Syracuse-Georgetown rivalry was phenomenal. So was back in the day. I mean, when the Big East was the Big East. I mean, you had Rolly Massimino over Villanova. You had St. John's, with Chris Mullen, all that's going on there. You had PJ over at Seton Hall. Patino was at Providence. You just everywhere you looked, you had coaches and you had kids that were phenomenal basketball players. And I would love to see Georgetown become relevant again. I mean, you're not going to necessarily duplicate what they did before, but even relevant's good. I mean, making the tournament would be nice, but we'll see. But he's done a great job at Providence. So let's see what he can do at Georgetown. And who's going to take the Syracuse job? Did they say that already?
Oh yeah, they hired somebody like the next day. Some.
Oh, okay. Well, that didn't take long. Was he on the staff?
Looks like. Let's see. Looks like they're going to be a new Antonio. I think Antonio Conti is going to be fired.
Oh. Well, you mentioned that was going to happen for a few days.
Yeah. The season was already clear. Conti's words, not board or owner. Yeah, it's interesting. Now, Oliver Glasner has been contacted to bring him in. He was going to go anyway. So yeah, that's interesting.
So okay, so he's definitely.
Well, he was going to leave. His contract was up, so he was going to go. But now, you. I don't know if you saw the press conference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. And everything he said was 100% true. His players, those players are not winners. Like, they don't win anything. They finished third in a 2-horse race, and they clearly should have won the league in 2016. They let the worst champions of all time, Leicester, win, who might get relegated this year. They just haven't won anything. I was going to ask Foxy and Bill, maybe Interstellar Devil if he's still here, after the weekend, who they thought were going to get relegated. I have the odds here.
What's the odds?
So right now, Southampton. So the table is. I'm going to share this. So this is from 12th place down. Southampton, Crystal Palace just fired Patrick Vieira. So there was that. You asked about that, I think, the other day about who was the next one to go. He was the next one to go. So Palace to Southampton is separated by 4 points. That's 12th. Here's the top of the table. The top half of the table is 10th. Aston Villa is on 38th. So basically 1st through 11th, whatever. And then 12th, it's basically a different table. It's their own table here. Southampton's in 20th with 23 points and a minus 23 goal difference. Goal difference is going to be big. That's why Nottingham Forest now at 26 with a minus 27 goal difference could be important. Leicester City's on 25 points here. Some teams, West Ham's only played 26 games. Leeds, Nottingham Forest, Leicester, and Bournemouth have played 27. Southampton, Everton, Wolves, and Crystal Palace have played 28. So they're at a little bit of a disadvantage here. And that's why Southampton, I think a lot of people think they're going to go down. So the odds are Southampton minus 250, Bournemouth minus 167, Nottingham Forest plus 100, Everton plus 175, Leeds plus 275, Leicester plus 350, Wolves plus 250, West Ham plus 400. I think, Luki, I think Bournemouth is a pretty good chance to go down. I don't think they're very good. I think, when you start to look at these, I'm maybe going to take a shot on, maybe a Leicester plus 350, maybe a West Ham at plus 400. I still don't think they're good. They're that bad. But
so you're betting that they won't or they will?
I think they could. I would rather take the Southampton's still they're playing tough for this guy, so I don't know. I think they may be. I still think they're not the worst roster out there. Bournemouth, I think, probably goes. I think Forest still could go, but they have so many of those players in there, so I'm not sure about that. And then Everton probably safe. Leeds, I don't know. I mean, they have enough talent. Maybe they stay up. So maybe it's Leicester, but it's pretty interesting. I think it could be pretty interesting going forward.
What's the good? You've been pretty consistent on the top four. Has that changed, or are you still with it?
I think Arsenal, City, United, and Newcastle. I think that this Tottenham mess could be an issue. Tottenham plays Everton when they get back at Everton. They play a tough Brighton team who's trying to chase them down. They play Bournemouth. They're at Newcastle. That's a massive. So Tottenham plays Newcastle on the 23rd at Newcastle and then host Manchester United on Thursday the 27th and then play Liverpool, who's chasing them, on Sunday the 30th. So that's it. This week right here will be it for Tottenham. If they win all three, or if they get 5 points, or if they get 6 points or something like that, maybe they'll finish in the top, thing. But because down the stretch they got Palace at home, Villa away, Brentford at home, and Leeds away. So not the toughest schedule in the world. They're terrible on the road though.
Mm-hmm.
Foxy said wouldn't feel comfortable betting on any of those. Yeah, I agree for the relegation and probably Palace if they don't sort of manage your. I think Palace could get sucked in. I'd like to see some teams like Palace and Leicester go down, to be honest, and see some new teams in. But it is what it is. Leicester's in trouble though. If they go down, they might not be back for a long time. They're in a lot of financial problems. But for Tottenham, this is it. This run here, the 23rd. The game against Brighton is tough, but this run here. Newcastle, Manchester United, and Liverpool. That's their season. So I don't think they'll. Newcastle has 2 games in hand on Tottenham. Manchester United has 2 games in hand on Tottenham, and they're ahead of them already. The 2 games in hand, it's not always the greatest thing in the world. Spurs fan having a meltdown. I love to see it. Yeah, exactly. the 2 games in hand aren't always points, but, you know, there's a chance there if Manchester United wins the 2 games in hand that, you know, now they're 7 points clear. You know, if Newcastle wins the 2 games in hand, they're 4 points clear of Tottenham. So I think that's where it could be good for those teams.
I mean, you know.
There's a chance Tottenham just implodes here and just, you know, they could go either way. Like those comments could make them, you know, turn around, or they could, the whole thing could implode. And, you know, they're not playing for anything. They're not in any other competition. So, you know, really they just have to focus on their games. But at this point now, there's just so many games. But the fact that they only have 10 games left and Manchester United and Newcastle have 12, I would side with Manchester United and Newcastle. I still don't think Liverpool's going to have enough to do it. Brighton's the only team I think Brighton could. You know, Brighton's only played 25 matches, but they have such a brutal schedule. But they're talented enough to do it. You know, Brighton is, you know, I'd like to see Brighton get into Europe. Obviously, though, I think they should, you know, they're going to get picked apart by some of these teams if they don't, because they have a ton of talent.
You had mentioned that earlier that you had hoped that they were kind of like a dark horse for the 4th spot.
Yeah, they're very good. I mean, this kid Evan Ferguson's going to be, everybody in Europe's going to be chasing this kid. He's 18 years old. He's a monster. He's the next thing. You know, he's the next Harry Kane. Matoma is really good. Moises Caicedo is really good. You know, they're just very, very talented. There's so much talent on the field for them. So you like watching them play. You know, De Zerbi is done a good job coming in for Graham Potter. Everyone thought it was Graham Potter, but you know, I'm thinking now you're seeing maybe it was just the system.
Well, you know, we'll see at the end of the day. Any final thoughts before we get out of here on a Monday?
Not too much today, but you know, we'll start building up to some of these international games this week. Huge games. You know, Italy plays England on Thursday, and France plays Netherlands, and there's some really big games this week. So I think that'll be pretty interesting.
World Baseball Classic tonight.
Semis, right?
Yep. Japan. And the winner gets the United States in Miami. So Cuba had a tough time with them last night. So it will be should be a good game. Should be a good game. So we'll have that. And live from Las Vegas, coming home, Amadeus will be with us tomorrow. So
all right.
The gang will all be here, and we'll be
let's go
having some fun. All right, guys. Back here tomorrow, 2:00. Same time, same station. We enjoy being with you. We hope you enjoy being with us. For Sean, I'm Jim. Take care.